So, what actually happens when your budget assumes you're going to bring in 4,000 bucks, but you only make 1,500? Well, if you're a freelancer, a gig worker, or relying on commissions, you know exactly what happens, right? The math literally just doesn't work. It's an absolute financial roller coaster, and you're just constantly stuck riding that exhausting feast and famine cycle. Here's a really fascinating takeaway from this explainer. Traditional budgeting is, honestly, completely useless for irregular income. I mean, think about it. When standard financial advice tells you to budget based on an average month, it's assuming this magical middle ground that, let's be real, almost never actually happens for variable earners. You can't pay real-world bills with a mathematical phantom. Relying on standard, run-of-the-mill advice when your income is all over the place, that just sets you up for failure, frustration, and ultimately, debt. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a fantastic guide titled How to Budget with an Irregular Income. And this offers a completely different approach. We're talking about a concrete, step-by-step system for achieving absolute financial stability, regardless of how wildly your paycheck swings from month to month. Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the irregular income trap. Second, finding your baseline income. Third, the priority waterfall system. Fourth, living on last month's money. And finally, taxes and hidden expenses. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the irregular income trap. Why standard financial advice completely fails gig workers and freelancers. The challenges here are totally unique, and honestly, they compound fast. The sheer unpredictability makes hitting fixed savings goals nearly impossible. And, the psychological trap here is just fascinating. During a feast month, when the money's rolling in, the temptation to spend freely is overwhelming. But then that leaves you completely scrambling when those famine months inevitably hit. Combine that feast or famine whiplash with complex tax situations and absolutely zero employer benefits. Yeah, it's a recipe for constant grinding stress. Because this isn't just a math problem, guys. It's a massive behavioral and emotional challenge. Moving on to section 2, find your baseline income. This is all about building a conservative financial foundation. So, to actually build this foundation, we have to look backward first. Step 1, pull up your income over the past 12 months. Step 2, identify your 3 absolute lowest earning months, literally the bottom of the barrel. Step 3, you're going to average only those 3 worst months together. And step 4, whatever that number is, that is now your new baseline income. Now, I know it might feel a little intimidating or even depressing to focus purely on your lowest points, but trust me, building your budget around the money you know you can reliably count on, that creates a truly bulletproof foundation. Let's actually see this in practice. Let's say you calculate a baseline income of $2,000. This is what a completely stripped down, bare bones survival mode budget looks like. You've got rent, basic utilities, just enough groceries to get by, transportation, health insurance, minimum debt payments, a basic phone plan, your tax savings, and a tiny, tiny emergency fund contribution. When you add all that up, it totals $2,100. Now wait a second. Because this essential list is $100 over our $2,000 baseline, we instantly know that even our non-negotiables need to be trimmed down. And just to be crystal clear here, a baseline budget slashes literally everything else. No dining out, no entertainment, zero non-essential shopping, and absolutely, positively no vacations, right? If your bare essentials are exceeding your baseline income, you just can't afford the extras. You have to aggressively cut costs. Maybe that means finding a roommate or calling up providers to negotiate your bills. You have to do whatever it takes until the math actually works for your absolute worst months. Okay, section 3, the priority waterfall system, how to handle managing the extra money from your good months. I want you to think of your extra surplus money like water flowing down a series of pools. You can't fill a lower pool until the one above it is completely overflowing. So first, you prioritize building a 1-month income buffer in cash. Once that is totally full, the overflow goes instantly into your quarterly taxes. Next up, you build a 3-month emergency fund. Now, only after all those safety nets are fully funded do you move on to funding your current baseline budget. And finally, way down at step 5, that is when you get to add in discretionary spending, like dining out. And after that, you can tackle extra debt or specific savings goals. Which brings us to section 4, living on last month's money. This is the ultimate stability hack for freelancers. Notice how your behavior fundamentally has to adapt here. During a feast month, you actually need to act defensively. You're funding taxes, you're topping up emergency accounts, you're prepaying fixed expenses. Doing this completely insulates you. That way, when those slow months inevitably arrive, instead of totally panicking, you just calmly cut discretionary spending and rely on the buffer you built. It's all about managing your psychology during the sunny days, because that is exactly what protects you when the storm hits.
And this leads us to a truly brilliant concept, the income buffer method. By saving up one full month of baseline expenses, you essentially shift your entire financial timeline. Think about it. At the start of November, you aren't sitting there anxiously guessing what you're going to earn that month. You are simply budgeting with the exact cash you already earned back in October. This method, which, by the way, is highly recommended by budgeting apps like YNAB, it completely erases the anxiety of trying to predict future paychecks.
All right, final piece of the puzzle, Section 5, Taxes and Hidden Expenses. Protecting your progress from surprise bills. I need you to consider this 25 to 30% number as a massive, non-negotiable stop sign. If you are self-employed, failing to save for taxes is a totally devastating trap. Seriously, a surprise tax bill can wipe out months of your hard work in an absolute instant. You have to aggressively set aside 25 to 30% of every single payment you receive. In fact, move it to a totally separate account before you even look at it. Treat that tax money exactly like you treat your rent. Beyond taxes, you basically have to become your own personal HR department, right? You have to fund all those hidden benefits yourself. You got to proactively budget for marketplace healthcare. You've got to fund your own retirement, maybe through a SEP IRA or a solo 401k, because, hey, there's no generous employer match coming your way. And this one is absolutely crucial, a paid leave fund. If you get sick or you want to take a real vacation, your income hits pause. You need cash set aside, so taking time off doesn't equal financial ruin. And finally, getting some basic disability insurance ensures your baseline is protected if you literally cannot work. So as we wrap up this explainer, the source material leaves us with an incredibly powerful takeaway. It perfectly summarizes this entire mindset shift we've been talking about. It says, the stability you are looking for does not come from having consistent income. It comes from building systems that create stability regardless of income variability. I love that. You really don't need a predictable paycheck. You just need a predictable system. So take a moment and look really closely at your own habits. Where exactly is your system breaking down? Are you struggling to calculate that worst-case baseline? Or is it more about resisting the urge to splurge during a massive feast month? Ask yourself this. If you could perfectly predict and easily survive your absolute worst earning month, how much more financial freedom would you feel during your very best? Start building that buffer today and just watch how quickly the anxiety completely disappears.